Hi, I'm Kathy Busch. What I'm going to be talking to you about today is the anatomy of a movie and how a movie is broken down from the perspective of a screenplay writer. When Hollywood producers, directors look at a script, they're looking for a very distinct formula. Probably not thinking about that when you're sitting in a theater watching a movie, but there is a very distinct formula that you should follow in order to have someone in Hollywood interested in the movie that you're trying to sell. If you're an established screenwriter, you can probably get away with maybe not doing the 15-beat method, but if you're a newbie and if you're writing a screenplay that you want somebody to look at, it's a good idea to follow this method. Blake Snyder wrote a book called Save the Cat, Blake Snyder wrote a book called Save the Cat, where he outlines this 15-beat method. And what I'm going to do today is explain those 15 beats to you and then give you an example from the movie Miss Congeniality. We'll break down that movie into 15 beats. The next time you're watching a movie, you can sit and keep these 15 beats in mind and see if you can find the different points. Sometimes a beat is 5 seconds, sometimes it's 5 minutes, but sure enough, they'll probably be there. Before we get started with the beats though, there are 4 basics to every movie and novel for that matter that you need to have. The first one is the protagonist. He's the main character, he's our hero in the movie. He's the one making the journey. Secondly, we need an antagonist, which is the opposite of our protagonist. He's the one that trips up our hero along the way. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person though. Our antagonist could be a thing, it could be an animal, like in Jaws, the antagonist was actually an animal. It could be an event, like a cruise ship getting overturned from a big tsunami or tidal wave. In the movie The Poseidon Adventure, the antagonist was actually the ship itself. The third thing that we need in our movie is the journey that the main character is taking. To get from point A to point Z, the journey is what happens to him along the way. And point Z is our fourth thing that we need, which is change. You have to excuse me, I have to hit the laptop here because my clicker's not working. Okay, beat number 1 is the opening image of the film. It sets the mood and the tone of our movie, and it's a snapshot of our hero before. This beat also has a bookend and at the finale or the final scene of the movie. And in Miss Congeniality, our opening image is of Grace, who Sandra Bullock plays. She's on a playground with the boys and she's hitting them. She has some issues, some anger issues. The second beat is where the theme is stated. Someone, usually not the hero, makes a statement or poses a question that asks the thematic premise of the story. Is the hero's dream or goal worth it? Or is it false? And in Miss Congeniality, the scene where the theme is stated the best is where, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but Sandra's sitting in a bar and her co-worker Eric, who she has a crush on, comes in with a girl that he's dating who wants to ask Grace some questions about what it's like to be a female FBI agent. And Eric states, if you want a woman's opinion, you're barking up the wrong tree. So the theme of the movie is that she's an FBI agent, but she's really not female, she's not a woman. The next beat is called the setup. That's where we see all of the characters' flaws, their tics, the behaviors that need to be addressed later on their journey, getting toward the end, which is change. This is where you can introduce the 6 things that need to be fixed, or the 6 things about the character that need to change by the end of the movie. And it's where you grab your audience. In Miss Congeniality, the setup this scene shows Grace in a room full of FBI agents. They've just found out that there's a threat to a beauty pageant, and Eric, the guy that Grace has a crush on, has been assigned the lead. And they're brainstorming, trying to figure out what to do. And Grace is the one coming up with all the ideas, but they're not even counting her as contributing. She's saying these ideas and they're taking them on as her own. So she's not female, she's not really an agent because they don't treat her as an equal. So that's the setup. Our fourth beat is the catalyst, and that's the moment where something happens. It's your boom moment, and it's usually bad. And in Miss Congeniality, our catalyst is when they figure out that Grace is the only one that can go undercover to the pageant and try and find out who the bad guy is. And that's kind of a joke because she's the only one in the bureau that's a woman and really not feminine. So she doesn't want to do it, but that's the boom moment in the movie. Beat number 5 is called the debate. That's the last chance for the hero to say, should I stay, should I go, should I do it, should I not? I don't know if I can do this. And in the movie, there's a great scene between Grace and Victor, who's played by Michael Caine, where they're having lunch, and he's just appalled at how unrefined her manners are, and he knows he's got a huge challenge against her. They're antagonistic toward each other. She doesn't want to do what they want her to do, and he doesn't think that he can do it. But his task is to turn her into a girly girl in 48 hours, and neither one of them are really sure if they can do it. Beat number 6 is called Break Into 2, and what that means is break into Act 2, not break it into 2 pieces, but break into Act 2. This is where the hero makes the decision to leap into their new world, and their world is a version of their own, but it's turned completely upside down. And in the movie, it's the scene where Grace goes to the airplane hangar and they do the makeover on her, and they are plucking and pulling and tanning and doing everything to her, and she walks out looking fantastic, and then she stumbles and she catches herself, but it's not going to be easy, but she's ready to give it a shot. So that's Break Into 2. Beat number 7 is the B story. It's usually a love story, but it helps us transition into Act 2. We've been hearing a lot about what's going on in the A-line story. That's what we've been focused on up to this point. The B story gives us a chance to look at the scope of the movie in a little bit different way, and to discuss the theme, but with a little bit different sequence of events, or sometimes different characters. And in the movie, the B story, which, like I said, is usually a love story, it's not between Eric and Grace, but it's actually between Grace and the other girls in the pageant. It's because of them that she learns and she grows. They start to rely on her, and she really starts to rely on them. Beat number 8 is the best beat of the movie. It's called Fun and Games, and it's the promise of the premise. It's the heart of the movie. You're not as concerned with forward progress, with events happening, but it's just fun. It's why we bought the ticket. It's why we came to see the movie. And in Miss Congeniality, there's a lot of fun and games, actually. There's a lot of funny moments, but the one that I picked here is Sandra leaping off the stage when she's playing the water glasses, and she sees a guy in the audience who has a gun, and nobody else is responding quick enough, so she leaps off the stage and lands on top of him. But again, Miss Congeniality has lots of fun and games, and those are the scenes that you see in the trailer. When you're at home watching trailers or in the movie theater, the fun and games are what you see a lot of. Beat number 9 is called the midpoint, and that's where the hero either peaks or their world comes crashing down around them. The fun and games are over, the stakes are raised, and it's back to the story. It has a matching beat, which is called All Is Lost. Things are never as good as they seem, and they're never as bad as they seem. And in the movie, the midpoint is where they find that there's a suspect for the attempt on the girls at the pageant, and it's actually one of the contestants who's become a friend of Grace's, and this is where she's seeing the information about her. Her mouth's hanging open. Oh my gosh. So we're back to serious stuff now, trying to figure out who the threat to the pageant is. Number 10 is the bad guys close in. Everything seems just fine, but behind the scenes, the bad guys are moving in. The hero is now on their own. They have nobody to turn to, and we know that he's heading for a fall. And in Miss Congeniality, the suspect isn't who we think. It's not Grace's friend Cheryl, but it's actually a member of the pageant itself. And behind the scenes, that we see that she's getting ready to strike. And the next beat, All Is Lost, signifies total defeat. Everything's in shambles. There's no hope in sight. And in the movie, this is where Grace figures out who the real bad guy is, but she's left on her own. She goes to her boss, and he doesn't believe her. They think that they've got this Unabomber guy out in Montana, and they're going to leave her there on her own. But she knows that that's not who it is. She firmly believes that it's someone else, but she's willing to stake her career on being right, and she's probably going to lose her job over it. Dark Night of the Soul. This is where the hero has to reach down and pull out the best last idea that's going to help them and help everybody around them. And following along with what I was just talking about, Victor has to leave, the cops leave, Grace is left all on her own, and she's a mess. She's been relying on Victor to help her become female and get her through the pageant. Now he's leaving. So she's all on her own. She's not an agent anymore because they took her badge, or she handed it in. She's not a beauty queen. She never was. But she's stuck. She knows that she can't leave. Number 13 is Break into 3, Act 3. That's where the A story and the B story come together. The hero has prevailed and he's found a solution, but now he has to apply it. And in Miss Congeniality, that's where Grace goes back to the pageant. Her hair's a mess. She doesn't know mascara from a tube of lipstick, but she has to pull herself together because she has to stay in the pageant in order to try and protect the girls. And they see that she's a mess and they rally to help her. Even though she's a competitor, they care about her enough that they want her to succeed, and so they rally around her and help her, and that gives her the strength to go back on and to go ahead and compete and try and find the bad guy. 14, that's the finale. That's where everything is wrapped up, all the lessons that have been learned are applied, the character flaws are fixed, and the A and B story end in triumph, and the hero's world has changed. And in the finale, Grace is on the stage. She's dressed up, she's got her makeup on, she's got her hair all done, and she decides to show her talent as how to defend yourself, self-defense techniques if someone attacks you. So she's at a beauty pageant, but she's showing her talent and her abilities as an FBI agent. So the two sides of herself kind of come together. And then she manages to catch the bad guy in a really great scene where she tackles the beauty queen to get her crown. Anyway, 15, that's the last beat. It's the final image. It's the opposite of the opening image. Remember that bookend that I talked about earlier? The opening image and the final image. It's a snapshot of the character after, and it's proof that change has occurred and it's real. And in Miss Congeniality, it's where she's up on the stage and they name her Miss Congeniality. She's back in her black suit, but her hair's still pretty. She's got on earrings, she's got on makeup, so she's feminine. She's still a successful agent, and she's been named Miss Congeniality from the pageant. So those are the 15 beats of a movie. And if you've got an idea for a script, it's a good idea to follow these 15 beats if you ever want Hollywood to take a look at it. Thanks for watching.